You got a lot of boots and suspenders and shaven heads and swastikas.
Yeah.
Did you know, by the way, that apparently the heartland of this extreme right-wing movement is in the northwest of the United States?
I did not know that, and I was going to
So
ask
I'm
you
told
that.
Oregon, Washington State, you would expect a much more urban environment, perhaps, or a much more multicultural environment than there exists in those states. But I'm told it is.
Hi, I'm Krista Smith, and we're here with Patrick Stewart, who's going to be talking about his film, The Green Room, and also in a little TV show that you have on Starz called Blunt Talk, which is hilarious and very good. I like that show. We'll talk about that later. But why don't you tell me, we were just discussing last night the movie premiered here in Toronto. What was that like?
It was extraordinary. I have never, ever in my career been at a screening of something that I've been in, or someone else's screening, when the audience played such a role in the experience. So, a story is about 4 members of a struggling punk rock band who need to get back to DC, but they're in Oregon. They have no money. Nobody's paying them to do their shows, but then they get this last gig that will pay them $300 each, I think each. And of course they accept it, but it's in this strange music venue, which is out in the woods. It's not in Portland or any town at all. There's something unsavory about it. Well, they do their gig, and it goes well, though I think they're very glad to get out of there. But then one of them sees something absolutely ghastly that he should not have seen, and because of that, the band are not allowed to leave. But it is the shock of some of the violence that I think people were reacting to last night.
Respond to that. Wow. What is it? I mean, you've been working for so long, and like you said, you're in. You've done every kind of theater role. You've done Shakespeare. You've obviously. I mean, we're all talking about Star Wars right now, but you are Star Trek. I mean, obviously, your husband Seth MacFarlane is obsessed with you from the time he was I don't know, a teenager. You can't even mention your name around him, and he goes crazy, and he developed a show for you. So are these, you still obviously love acting?
I do. I think I'm having more fun now than I ever have in my 55-year career. I didn't have much fun when I was a young actor. I was too insecure, too nervous, always ready to believe that somebody knew better than I did. That's all gone. You ask my colleagues now, I'm impossible. I'm a nightmare to work with. I'm so opinionated about what I do. I hope that's not true. But some things happened over my late middle age that kind of liberated me and set me free to be myself when I work, to not be afraid of finding the feelings, the experiences inside rather than externally. And that's given me a brand new lease of life so far as my work is concerned.
Can you pinpoint the moment for you that it changed? Is there a moment that you can speak about?
Yeah, I was cast in a play. I was invited to play a role in a Shakespeare. It's called a comedy, but it's full of sad and horrendous things, called Winter's Tale. Leading English actress, Dame Peggy Ashcroft, had already told me, don't take this part. This role is an actor's graveyard. She said, I have never met an actor yet who had a success in this role, because he's such a ghastly individual, an unspeakable individual, that nobody likes him. Don't do it. So I met with the director, and he said, you should do it. And here's how you should do it. All these bad things. I mean, he kills his wife, he kills his child, his best friend dies because of him. He said, what you have to believe is that all of this man already resides in you. And what I will ask you to do is to tap this anger, this rage, this murderous quality that I know is inside you. And if you do that, I promise I will never leave your side. I'll stand by you all the time, and you will not fall. I trusted him, and I took the risk, and it was a life-changing experience. A good friend of mine, an American Shakespeare scholar, saw the production several times, and after the last time he said to me, you would have had much more success in this role if watching it we had not felt we shouldn't be there, that what was happening was far too private, far too personal to be put on public view. But having been there once, there was no going back, to the English actors were often thought of, especially in the United States, as being technical actors, brilliant technical actors. Laurence Olivier, for example, is a good instance of that. Whereas American actors, particularly film actors, were so much more internalized, so much more natural, in the moment and spontaneous. Well, that's what this director helped me to discover, and it did change everything for me. And indeed, there was no going back.
So, well, I mean, it's great.
It is great.
It's great that you're just continuing to work, and more than ever, and still as popular. I mean, from the X-Men and like I said, the Star Trek, that's part is huge. And now with Blunt Talk, which I love, you get to play this crazy character, British talk show host that comes to where else but America.
Of course.
To do a cable news show. I mean, what are your thoughts about our American cable news shows and all of this?
For decades, I have been addicted to the news. I read 3 newspapers a day, either online or I like to have them in my hand. And I'm a dying breed because before very long there won't be any newspapers to hold in your hands. And the same goes for the radio. I listen to BBC News every day. I listen to NPR, and I watch both cable and network news on American television. I've always been obsessed with it. I probably, other than soccer, I watch more news than anything else on television. So to have the opportunity to play someone who is in a somewhat alien environment, fighting to make a career for himself. The reason that it's a little alien is that one of his objectives as a presenter of this nightly news show is to make America a better country. And that doesn't always go down too well, coming from someone who talks like me.
Yeah.
It seems maybe a little arrogant, but it's a passionate belief that he can change the world, but most particularly, he can change the United States of America. That's great. However, his life off camera is very different, and he is out of control, sexually, with alcohol, with illegal drugs, with his obsessive attraction to women, and this, and I think 4 divorces in his past, and so far we've only met 2 of his children, one 5 years old, one 45 years old, but there are others. So for me, he's a fascinating character because he's passionate. He believes so potently in the advocacy that he presents on the show, but he can't get his stuff together.
And how do you deal with Seth MacFarlane's fanboyism for you?
It's charming. You described how he is with me, and he did say at the premiere of screening of our show, he said, it was my idea, he said, was, why is Patrick Stewart being wasted on all this serious drama when in fact he's a comedian? Who knew? Thank you very much, Seth.
Yeah.
One night he came into a bar restaurant, very famous bar restaurant in Los Angeles, and it happened to be sitting at a table. We were having a little reunion with Brent Spiner and Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton and Jonathan Frakes and myself. And Seth saw us, and I swear to God, I thought he was going to fall over because all his heroes were sitting around this table at the same time. And he came and joined us, and he is quite a garrulous and entertaining individual. He sat silently, gazing from face to face in this. I wondered when we were all going to show up. We have, of course, shown up. We showed up in Family Guy. Yeah. The whole cast were there. I think he's a brilliant writer, satirist, and certainly as a voice actor, extraordinary. And I'm a big fan of Ted, and Ted 2, and Million Ways to Die in the West. And it's thanks to him, because it was 12 years ago when American Dad started, that this new movement in my life of comedy being brought to me began, and I am relishing every moment of it.
Now a whole other generation will just know you for that, which is amazing, right?
Isn't that funny? They'll no longer be saying, "Oh, I grew up watching you as Jean-Luc Picard." Now it'll be, "Oh God, I love you as Walter Blunt."
Yeah.
That would be a good way to go out.